Hey friends, welcome to Axial GT. Today's video we are going over Ashes of Creation and its multitude of mechanics that are in place, and are in the process of being fleshed out and implemented as development continues. Now understandably, there are lovers and haters of this game, and I will touch on a few of the controversial issues, and also give my thoughts toward the end of the video. This video is a long one because of the amount of information available for Ashes of Creation, and I'll do my best to break it all down. And if you like content like this, consider subscribing and turning on notifications to know when I upload. With that out of the way, grab a drink, some snacks, and let's get started to see where this rabbit hole takes us. First off, what is Ashes of Creation? Well, it's an upcoming MMORPG being developed by Intrepid Studios, and its world space is touted as a place where everything is permanently impacted by your actions. Things like building, trading, and exploring will all change the world we play in, and the world is called Vera. It is also said to lean heavily into the risk versus reward philosophy, and is trying to mesh together the best parts of other MMOs into one sandbox playground. Player choice is a driving factor, as in the ever-changing world quest lines will open and close based on how and when the player chooses to interact with the world. As towns and cities grow, monsters will attempt to take back what's theirs. Where we decide to build our towns and how much we grow, its influence will decide what our world looks like and how it evolves. It is said to have a unique culture, ecology, and economy. And as I said in my previous video, no two servers will experience Ashes of Creation the same way. We'll talk about character creation first. Out of the gate, Ashes of Creation will have a robust character creator with a wide range of customization. Intrepid Studios' goal is to have a creator on par, if not better, than Black Desert Online. Visual adjustments like facial structure, body type, and the selection of different voices for your character. And of course, things like hair and scars are also available. And yes, sliders to adjust different, let's say, assets will also be available. This is backed up by comments made by Steven Sharif, creative director and CEO of Intrepid Studios, during the latest AMA.
To a specific type of slider, I would say that yes, there will be a slider in that regard.
Now, it does need to be mentioned that there are limits to what these sliders can do. Trying to Frankenstein in the perfect character, things can only be adjusted so far, no matter what ritual you try.
By the way, why are we wearing bras on our heads?
Ceremonial.
And obviously, you'll name your character, and that name will be displayed above your character's head, unlike at the launch of other online games. You hear me, Bethesda? But anyway, you will choose from 9 playable races, and each race has both genders, with their own origin and backstory. And like most RPGs, each race has their own augments and abilities. Race also plays a part in node advancement, and I will discuss nodes in a moment in more detail. But whatever race contributes the most to a certain node will dictate the style of structures the player sees as the node advances. After choosing your race, you'll then need to choose a class. This will be your primary class. Now, as you gain in power and experience, eventually you'll get to choose a secondary class or archetype. With both your primary and secondary archetypes complementing each other, it allows for 64 different combinations of class types, each with their own benefits and skills, and you gain skill points as you level up, allowing you to advance your skill tree. It does also need to be said that no player can max out their skill tree.
You must choose. But choose wisely.
But your primary archetype cannot be changed, but the secondary can, through a quest system. Now we need to look at how this land of Vera is laid out. The nodes. Something I touched on in a previous video. Vera is divided into different locales called nodes. There are to be 103 different nodes. These are preset locations. Each node has a zone of influence that does surround it. As we as players occupy a node, let's say to start farming the area, the node gains experience. The more players occupy a node to farm and do quests, the more experience will rack up. As the node gains experience, it will transform into different levels of development. Level 0 being the wilderness, or starting level, all the way up to level 6 metropolis, the end-all be-all of node development. As nodes rank up through the leveling system, so does the zone of influence begin to grow with it. This will be one of the catalysts for Ashes of Creation. As a node and its influence grows, it will start to bump up against other nodes and their zone of influences, and that will hinder growth to the next level. Now, this is another part of player choice. Players can partake in a node siege and fight in a PvP battle against players of the offending node. If they should happen to win and destroy the node, it will give the winning node room to continue its growth. The world of Vera revolves around this node system, and growth of your node unlocks more quests, what dungeons appear, and what bosses you encounter in the open world. There are 4 different node types, and are the same across all servers, and all nodes are static and will not change. You as a player will be able to deduce what kind of node you're in at the expedition stage of development. The 4 different types of nodes are divine, economic, military, and scientific. When a node reaches stage 3, or village in the node advancement tree, a government for the node will become available, and the game will have a 1-week cooldown period once it is advanced to this level. This gives players time to become citizens of a village or node, and after the 1-week cooldown, elections can begin. Now, depending on what type of election is held, depends on what type of node it is. In the divine or religious node, the citizens do service-oriented quests designed to prove faith and dedication to the node. The divine government is chosen from these citizens that have partaken in these tasks. For military nodes, the government is chosen from the citizens who partake in a last man standing battle royale. This will be an instance arena style winner take all. Think of the Black Panther fight, but with a lot more combatants. Winner becomes king of the hill. And the economic node governments are chosen by whoever has the most money. That's who wins. And it may be a bad analogy, but think about real-world elections over the last 15 to 20 years, because that's how those are. Lastly, we have the scientific node. These elections are held by the citizenry, and the players are elected democratically, meaning it's a kind of popularity contest. No matter which of the 4 node types you are a part of, the initial village election is the only one that will be a 1-week election. After that, elections for each node will be monthly, following each node type's election process. The governments of each of these nodes will use the city hall to control the goings-on within the node. They will set taxes, allocate resources, and keep an eye on the node's economy. They'll also make trade agreements with surrounding nodes and set up caravans to keep the economy moving, sign ally agreements with other nodes, or try to impose their perceived dominance and go to war with other nodes. We now come to PvP. PvP is what brings about world change in Ashes of Creation. It will, in essence, be an open world PvP, but has consequences for griefing other players. This will be done through a flagging system. There are 3 levels of flagging in the world. Green is a non-combatant, purple is a combatant, and red are the corrupted. All players start as a non-combatant, or green. You will be flagged purple, or a combatant, if you attack another player. If the player attacked fights back, heals, buffs, or more or less acknowledge the existence of the player who attacked you, you'll become a purple combatant as well. The 2 of you duke it out, and may the best person win. Now, if you don't fight back, you will stay flagged as a non-combatant, and your attacker will change to red and become corrupted. And there are some major disadvantages of being corrupted. When you die as corrupted, the penalties are more severe, even to the point where you start dropping your loot. Once you become corrupted, your position in the game world is always known to the bounty hunters. Bounty hunters are charged with hunting down and confronting corrupted players.
You come in here again. In fact, you go anywhere in the city preying on innocent people, and we will find you and eat both your arms and then both of your legs, and then we will eat your face right off your head. Do you understand?
Please.
Yes. So you will be this armless, legless, faceless thing, won't you? Rolling down the street like a turd in the wind.
And ending them while leaving their rotting corpse lay. Okay, not really, but sounded cool. But once you are corrupted, it won't just be bounty hunters that you have to worry about. Other players you come across during gameplay can attack you without receiving corruption themselves. So the more you kill non-combatant players, the more corruption you obtain. Level disparities also play a role. A max level character killing a noob will smack the higher level character with an increasing amount of corruption. And finally, corrupted players have a weakened proficiency and stats in combat. Now, there may be instances where becoming corrupted might be inevitable. Someone moving in on your hunting grounds, or maybe you just don't like the way their character looks.
You one ugly motherfucker.
Now, there are other ways to enter PvP, let's say legally. These mechanics flag everyone involved as purple combatants. You can participate in caravans, attacking or defending. These provide instance PvP areas. Castle sieges, node sieges, and guild wars all provide PvP content. And I'll give a brief overview of these. Guilds can opt to participate in castle sieges in hopes of capturing the castle. There are 5 castles located throughout the map. Each gives guilds bragging rights to be in control of one of the castles, and these sieges take place monthly. Node sieges have the ability to destroy the node to allow for more growth and advancement of your node, of which I mentioned earlier. And guild wars will be objective based. Go to war to get a certain item that the other guild possesses, and you can fight multiple guilds at one time if you have the gumption. Why would you want to participate in a guild war? Well, why not? Maybe they wronged you in a previous life, or the quintessential bragging rights. Or again, maybe you just don't like the look of them. There's also naval PvP. The ships, not the belly button. And naval PvP is only between ships, not individual characters. Instance arenas will also be available. They will have 3, 5, and up to 20-man battle royale. Again, this is done for bragging rights. On the PvE side of things, Not everyone likes PvP 100% of the time, so Ashes of Creation is self-described as a PvX, a game melding both forms into one game. So as far as PvE goes, you can compete in the game and develop the world around you by participation in PvE content. You will have access to quests, fighting monsters, events, crafting, gathering, farming, city building, animal husbandry, home building, and of course you can't forget the raiding. And questing is broken down even further with your traditional single player quests, area quests, public quests that you can tackle as a group, and there will also be quest chains and world events and open world dungeons and raids. There will be an 80-20 split between open world and instance encounters. So mainly open world and instance where a little more narrative is required. You can do solo content or as part of a group. Most content will be designed around 8, 16, and 40-man group sizes. Ashes of Creation will also have 12 to 15 raid bosses throughout the world, and some are divided into stages of completion, like defeating the pawns, then the lieutenants, then generals, before facing the boss actually itself. So if you are a PvE player, there should be loads of stuff for you to do and accomplish in the world. On to player housing. Player housing is an important aspect of any MMO. Okay, or at least the ones I like to play. It's always nice to have a place to chill and rest your weary bones after a long day of killing mobs, bosses, and we can't forget ugly players. Ashes achieves this with 3 forms of player housing. You have your static housing, apartments, and freeholds. Static homes are inside the town, city, village, what have you, and only one is allowed per server. Freeholds are plots of land within a node's zone of influence. You can purchase your plot of land and build your homestead. With this one, there is only 1 freehold per account. And lastly, we have apartments. These are instance housing, also 1 per server, and require the node that has a mayor that's worth a shit because he is the one in charge with having them built. In your home, you can decorate it with furniture and crafting benches. You can also display your achievements and trophies, and let's not forget storage containers. Everyone needs a place to store their stuff, and being a homeowner has its perks, like the ability to claim citizenship to a node and proximity-based bonuses. And this is your house, no one else's. The game will have a permission system in place to govern what other players can do at your house.
Come on, not in my glove. I didn't use the glove. That's my Little League glove.
Or even if you let them in. And a little more on the freeholds. You not only can have your home, but you can add to the world economy by having differing buildings set up on your land. Things like taverns, forges, smelters, etc. Now just like nodes during sieges, all 3 home types are destructible, but freeholds are in slightly more danger. After a successful siege against the node, for an additional 2 hours, the freehold you own can still be attacked, but you and your friends and allies can defend the home. Also, structures can be built and guards can be hired to help in its defense. But the saving grace is, if your home is destroyed, your home's blueprints and decorations are not gone forever. Blueprints will be mailed to the player so you can build back what you lost. And there is another way you could lose your home or apartment. Just like in the real world, if you don't pay your taxes, your home ownership will become default and will default back to the node. Another interesting aspect is Ashes of Creation does have a real estate system. Players can buy and sell properties like in-node housing and apartments from other players. But as a making of this video, freeholds cannot be sold. Now we'll take a short look at the PC system specs. Now I did forget to mention earlier that Ashes of Creation is using Unreal Engine 4. The PC specs for the alpha look something like this, or may change and be adjusted accordingly later on down the road. But for now, this is what we have. For Intel, we have an i3-2125 at 3.3 GHz, or an AMD Phenom 2X4 at 3.3 GHz. A GTX 460 or an AMD 6870 GPU occupying your GPU slot, 6 GB of RAM, and 15 GB of available storage. As for the recommended, an i7-6700K at 4 GHz or an AMD FX 9590 at 4.7 GHz is what's required. And for your GPU horsepower, you're looking at a GTX 1060 for the green team and a Radeon R9 Fury for the red team. And the memory increases to 16 GB. Now I will mention they have hinted around that they might switch to Unreal Engine 5, but right now, they're still using 4. Now, I don't know if these system specs are just an approximation or a guesstimation, but I do find it odd that 15 GB of available storage is enough for this game. The package has to be bigger than that, but I guess we'll see. Okay, for my final thoughts and impressions. I am trying to remain optimistic. I do like the fact that Intrepid Studios is trying to be transparent with the Ashes of Creation development. This game has everything an avid MMORPG fan could want, and I will get to that. But if all these mechanics are instituted fluidly, Ashes, in my opinion, will be the next big thing in the MMO space, and it's very exciting. But I do have a cynical side. Usually if it's too good to be true, it probably isn't true. We in the MMO community have been experiencing an MMO drought when it comes to new takes, imagination, and innovation in the genre, especially ones that are not pay to win. And some games we've been burned before. Chronicles of Valyria, anyone? That's why I didn't think much of the game when I first started on Kickstarter. The game is supposed to be privately funded, but it did still have a Kickstarter. Now it was said, that was to test the waters. And it also didn't do me any good seeing a Battle Royale launch for the game. That just looked like to me they were going after the flavor of the month. And yes, I have heard all the reasons why they did that, like testing out the combat system, but first impressions are hard to shake. It is also my understanding that Intrepid Studios hasn't set in stone if they will allow multi-boxing or not. And I know my opinion on multi-boxing is not a popular one. Now for those who don't know what it is, a very generalized overview is running multiple instances of a game in order to farm more efficiently, hence make more money. I personally think it's cheating. And yes, I know, some companies allow it or look the other way. And that's because they're selling subscriptions to every instance of the game. So they just look at the bottom line, not the experience the players are having or the effects on the end-game economy. Like I said, it's just a personal opinion. Now after saying all that, I am looking forward to playing Ashes of Creation. And yes, I'll probably purchase one of their packs no matter if the price is on the verge of giving people a stroke or heart attack.
I'm dying. You hear that, Elizabeth? I'm coming to join you, honey.
And I'll probably wind up doing that for two reasons. One, yeah, I want to play the game. And two, to be able to pass on any information I find, so I can tell other people if it's worth it or not. So that's it. In the end, I'm torn. I really like what I'm seeing, and have high hopes for Ashes of Creation. If all the hype proves to be well-founded, it will be the next big thing in the world of MMOs. But I'm also reserving my expectations, and taking a wait-and-see approach. So what do you guys think? Is it a hit in the making, or a dumpster fire? And if there's anything I miss, let me know in the comments below. I'm interested in seeing what you guys have to say. And those of you who made it to the end of the video, I really appreciate you watching. I know this one here was a long one. And be sure to like, subscribe, and click that bell to be notified of when I upload. Until next time, I'm out of here. You all have a good one.